To borrow the words of Chad Sugg, love the trees until their leaves fall off, then encourage them to try again next year. This is a quote about autumn, but it also speaks to what wellness is like. It's not something to be mastered, but encouraged to try again and again. Today's wellness episode is going to include autumn-inspired ideas and examples of how to be mindful, quiet, thoughtful, and creative in your wellness this fall. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first ideas I want to share are inspiration for how to be creative. In the show notes, there's a link to a how-to video of creating an autumn leaf stained glass craft. Using contact paper and leaves gathered from the yard, you can create an autumnal leaf design that you can stick directly to a window. Or you could create a contact paper window pane that you could hang up again and again each year. It's great fun to do with your family or by yourself, and the ideas for how to get creative with your leaf designs are endless. The second idea for how to be creative is a musical challenge. Challenge yourself to learn one new song, either about fall or the seasons changing, or really anything that inspires you. Learning new repertoire is such a good way to get your creative juices flowing. And if you are in a creative rut, then using music that someone else has already written is a great way to flex different muscles and get back in the spirit of making music. Now, this doesn't have to be just for your therapy sessions, but getting inspired in your personal music making goes a long way when you are in therapy sessions. As music therapists, we are musicians, and where and how we play music all comes from the same place. It's us. You can't separate your musicianship from your work, even though the purpose and utility of your music may change from session to performance in the community. Autumn is often a nostalgic season, so maybe take some time to reflect on what about music inspires you, and then do that thing and learn a song that inspires you in that way. Next, let's move on to a couple ideas on how to be thoughtful. Michael Spiegelman shared a blog post with 6 rituals for fall. These are very simple things that you can add to your day to bring some mindfulness to your routine. But one idea in particular that I wanted to share that's very simple is to do things slowly. Specifically, the author notes sipping your tea or walking slowly and bringing awareness to the actions, the emotions, and just generally relishing the moment of everyday simple tasks. I also want to share a little bit about this word that's grown some in popularity in the last few years, but it's a Danish word pronounced hygge. It's spelled Hygge. And this word, while it didn't originate in the Danish language, but in Old Norwegian, it meant something like well-being. Hygge first appeared in Danish writing around the end of the 18th century, and the Danes have embraced it ever since. It's a really notable feature of Danish culture. One good thing about hygge, this idea, is that you can apply it anywhere. They allocate it generously to everything commonplace, and it's this general description of coziness, warmth, Savoring. It could be something like a warm glow of a candlelight. That's hygge. It could be enjoying good food with good people. That's hygge. Cozying up with a loved one for a movie. That's hygge too. It's more of an idea than an activity, but I do think it's an idea that we would do well to strive after. Danish culture is generally considered to be one of the happiest and most contented cultures in the world, and perhaps this has something to do with it. Now, a couple ideas for how to be quiet. Quite simply, listen to music or read some poetry. I've included 4 awesome autumn playlists on Spotify that you can access right from our show notes, as well as a link to poems about autumn. I want to share one poem in particular by Dante Rossetti. Know'st thou not, at the fall of the leaf, how the heart feels the languid grief, laid on it for covering, and how sleep seems a goodly thing in autumn at the fall of the leaf? And how the swift beat of the brain falters because it is in vain. In autumn at the fall of the leaf, knowest thou not? And how the chief of joy seems not to suffer pain? Knowst thou not at the fall of the leaf, how the soul feels like a dried sheaf, bound up at length for harvesting, and how death seems a comely thing in autumn at the fall of the leaf? The last area that I want to share some inspiration for is how to be mindful. Guided imagery or listening to a mindfulness story can be a really great receptive method for bringing awareness to your body, or even calming the mind, relaxing your breath, and following what someone else is providing for you in an audio script or a podcast episode. I'm going to include 2 different Music Therapy and Beyond episodes. In case you missed it, I recorded a woodland walk guided imagery a few weeks ago. And some time ago, Elizabeth recorded a guided meditation for kids. Both of those are really great resources for adults or children to enjoy a moment of mindfulness without having to think much about what you're doing. For a really quick on-the-go moment of mindfulness that you could use every day, the 1 Minute of Mindfulness podcast has lots of great scripts and resources and tools to help you be mindful that don't take more than a minute. The one that I've chosen to share here is about appreciating the colors of fall. So I would encourage you to go check out the 1 Minute of Mindfulness podcast. I hope that this season, and in all seasons, you find ways to be mindful, quiet, thoughtful, and creative in your wellness journey. Please take and enjoy all of the ideas I've shared today and return to this episode anytime you need some inspiration. I'm also going to link you to another MTNB episode where Kristen spoke about the importance of rest, because understanding wellness is usually talked about in regards of what actions to take, like an activity or exercise or diet, but it should also be looked at in terms of pausing from action as well, really reflecting on rest. So as the season changes and perhaps your weather is going to cool off and maybe you'll spend less time outside, could be a really great opportunity to reflect on rest and mindfulness in the fall season. Be well, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Music Therapy and Beyond. For show notes from today's episode, head to our website, musictherapyandbeyond.com. And while you're there, check out our shop. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe to share our work on all platforms. And don't forget to tune in every Monday for another great episode. We'll see you next time.